Hello and welcome to Cyber Focus, your source for international business information. My name is Tim Smith and our guest today is Mr. David Kay. David is a business analyst at Memphis Meats, a tech startup based in the Bay Area that recently announced it's begun production of the world's first lab-grown chicken and duck meat. Today, David will give us his insights on Memphis Meats, on their business practices and what they're doing both here in the States and hopefully in the world. David, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. To begin with, can you talk about what you mean by clean meat or lab-grown meat?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we at Memphis Meats really have two foundational principles. The first is that meat as a product is great. It's delicious. It's such an integral part of so many different cultures. In fact, 90% of the world's population eats meat. So that's number one. Number two is that the process by which meat is made is long overdue for innovation. And in particular, there are some problems associated with the environment, with the animals, and with public health issues with modern meat production. And so at Memphis Meats, we're asking the question, what if we could create the same product that people have been enjoying for millennia, but in a process that's significantly better for the animals, for the environment, and for public health? And so the way we do that is by developing a technique to grow meat directly from animal cells without the need to feed, breed, or slaughter actual animals. And so the term clean meat is something that has kind of been assigned to us by some other folks in this movement. And certainly, you know, we're very flattered by the modifier. I think the sense is that there's an analogy with clean tech and clean energy, and also it, I think, refers to the lower risk of bacterial contamination with our process. But essentially, the big difference is we're developing a way to make meat without the animals. And that's kind of the big distinction between our process and conventional meat production.
Okay, great. Thanks, David. So, can you tell us a little more about your company and Memphis Meats? What is your next step after revealing the clean meat product?
Right, yeah. So as you mentioned a few weeks ago, we revealed the world's first ever clean poultry. It was chicken and duck meat. And both of those, it was the first time poultry had ever been produced in this process. So it was very exciting. About a year before that, we released the world's first clean beef meatball. So we've now publicly released 3 different types of meat, and we're working on some others that aren't public at this time, and so that's something we'll continue to do. I think really what we're working on is developing our technological platform. It's a multi-species platform that allows us to reduce the cost of production, increase production capacity, improve taste, texture, nutritional profile, and of course work on different types of meat, which is really exciting. And so that's something we'll be working on. I think you know, there's a tremendous opportunity here in terms of economic opportunity and also social impact.
Certainly.
You know, the market size for meat right now is approaching $1 trillion globally, and by 2050, demand for meat is expected to double. And so there's a huge opportunity to fix some of the problems associated with modern meat production, and at the same time generate a really valuable company. And we're really excited to be on the forefront of this movement.
Great. David, as we were discussing before, with the worldwide per capita consumption of meat predicted to rise dramatically over the next few years, tell me more about your thoughts regarding the global potential for Memphis Meats. And one more quick question, what do you see as the biggest hurdle for lab-grown meat?
Yeah, so we're definitely interested in having a global presence. I think both on the social impact side and also the economic opportunity side, the problems with conventional meat production are certainly not limited to the U.S. And as I mentioned, the global market for meat is approaching $1 trillion and expected to double in the next few decades. Yeah, absolutely. And so, so we're definitely interested in having a global presence, and we're having those conversations now. I would say the primary reason why we're not on market yet is just because the products are still a little bit too expensive. But we're on a cost curve that is decreasing more rapidly than anybody had really imagined, and we're really excited. We expect to be on market by about 2021, at which point I think we'll be sold at a slight price premium. But as we scale, we expect to become cost competitive with conventionally produced meat, and really the goal of the company is ultimately to lower the cost of production so that it is less than conventionally produced meat.
Great. Well, good luck. As consumers, I hope we get to benefit from that as well. Well, clearly technology has played a role in Memphis Meats' success. In addition to technology, are there any other factors that you feel can help drive success for purpose-driven business? What do you think is the key factor for keep a business both purpose-driven and profitable at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for Memphis Meats, what has worked really well for us is choosing a problem where the economic opportunity and the social problems are so closely ingrained that if you solve one half of the picture, you've basically solved the other.
Right.
And in particular on this issue of resource inefficiency, this is something that causes all kinds of huge environmental problems, but it also is a huge economic disadvantage because you have to put all these resources and money into growing parts of an animal that you will never actually use, you know, skin, eyeballs, horns, hooves, things like that. And so we think that if we can solve this from an efficiency standpoint, that will have huge social impacts in a positive way, but also huge economic impacts in a positive way. And so I think because the issues are so intertwined, this is a great opportunity to have a social purpose-driven for-profit company.
Okay, thanks. So as a startup, what keeps you guys up at night?
That's a great question. You know, I think one of the challenges we've had is just managing all the inbound interest, especially recently.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. I mean, we're a lean startup right now, but we have folks from every continent except for Antarctica have reached out to us, wanting to get involved, wanting to volunteer, wanting to work for us, wanting to partner with us or invest with us.
Sure.
And it's a great problem to have, managing all that interest and trying to come up with productive ways that we can partner with all these folks and help advance our shared mission. But it's certainly something that we've been spinning our wheels to try and manage.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And David, thank you so much for coming in to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. That's all the time we have for this edition of Cyber Focus. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any comments or suggestions for future topics, please let us know at CIBER, that's CIBER, at indiana.edu. And we'd like to thank the Kelly Institute for Social Impact for bringing David in to speak with us today.